Yeah, so leading on from Ola's presentation, we've been trying to determine how changes in life history traits brought about by sea lice infestation can affect the long-term dynamics of sea trout populations. So this is a difficult modeling task. The first thing is that sea trout populations, in comparison to other salmonids, are not that well characterized, so the information's quite scant. And when we're talking about sea lice infestation, it's a complex phenomena. So if you have even a simple effect of sea lice infestation, such as reduced growth at sea, you can have a whole series of secondary and tertiary effects that can operate over a range of timescales, and the actual modeling of these can be difficult. All of these will affect egg production, but exactly how they affect egg production and population viability is difficult to model. So we've decided to go down a mechanistic modeling approach using NetLogo, an individual-based modeling package. And the idea here is that we're using multiple empirical studies. These empirical studies might be fairly low power, but we're using many of them such that we can get a general model for lice behavior, and we can for sea trout behavior, and we can examine how the behavior and mortality are influenced by infestation by sea lice. So that's a simplified schematic of the model. We have sea trout migrating between freshwater and the marine environment. When they're in the marine environment, they can be infested with sea lice, and you'll get primary effects such as mortality, changes in growth at sea, changes in maturation. But these all affect egg production, which eventually determines stock viability via a stock recruitment relationship. And we've tried to base the model as much as possible in reality, so we've used multiple studies. We've used studies across Europe, but we've also used field studies across the latitudinal range of Norway, from smolt traps and from pit tag studies. So just to show some of the type of results that you can get with this modeling, this is showing how traits depend upon lice infestation. The upper panel show modeling without lice infestation, the lower with lice infestation. So if you have lice infestation, you have a reduction in growth at sea. And with a reduction in growth at sea, smaller individuals, so you have fewer returners coming back. The individuals that do come back are smaller, and the maturation rates are slower. And the net result of this is that you're going to get less egg deposition and a decline in the population of the sea trout. But it's important to note that it's a complicated situation. We're not just dealing with sea lice effects. So if I go on to this, I'm showing something different here. What we have is two simulated populations over a 100-year period. But with one, in both populations, we have the same lice infestation rate, but with one population, the one on the top, we're getting no decline in egg deposition and no decline in stock. The one on the bottom, we're getting a strong decline in egg deposition and eventual extirpation of the stock for the same lice infestation levels. And it's because we've got different stock recruitment curves. So what goes on in other parts of the system controlling the population dynamics is just as important as the sea lice infestation rate. That is, a 10% mortality brought about by sea lice infestation might not lead to a 10% reduction in the population size. It can be amplified or it can be dampened by other factors controlling the dynamics of the population. So to summarize, this modeling approach is useful. It's useful for a predictive tool for individual populations, and it's useful for an investigative tool. but it's only as powerful as the data used to validate the model, and we think we can use sensitivity analyses from the model to identify weaknesses in data availability to target future surveys. And with that, my time is up.
Oh.